Okay, good afternoon. I'm Paul Nijssen from EV Charge for You. You would think, why is this guy in orange? A little background, I'm from the Netherlands, that's why the heavy accent is there. A little bit about myself. I had a brother who had asthma, and we traveled always on vacations to Switzerland and Austria to have the clean air. In the Netherlands we had also, because it's so dense populated, we had even acid rains. And so when I came to the US, I was really a little bit surprised that everything was greener than in the place where people think it's greener. And and everybody was driving a car, not public transportation, just driving cars around. So that brought me directly up from, I need to do something about myself here. And I try to be, how do you say that? I try to do a lot about my recycling, things about plastic, more carton, and I will talk about that more, but also about what we do about these greenhouse gases here, because nobody is doing anything. And talking to my father-in-law who worked at Standard Oil, what became Chevron, he never believed in the electric car. And I'm like, everybody has an outlet at home, everybody has power at home, so why not? And no, he didn't believe it. He thought fuel cells was the kind of thing. So we come back to that later on this whole topic. But the fact of pollutions, and that's why I started to work with electric cars, making sure that people could charge these things at home. Most low-income communities, they are facing, they're living close to freeways, close to the industries, and they get all their problems with breathing, asthma, illnesses, cancer, everything. And I wanted to do something about it, and it also means that I came up with, well, how many, what does a bus do? A school bus. A school bus, what stands 180 days on still. And the funny part is that the school buses were more polluted than the domestic airlines here in the US. And so luckily, I live in the state of California, where we changed a lot already about getting the school buses electrified. And it didn't happen that they will go to fuel cells, because you couldn't charge your car or your bus except at a local bus area for transportation. So that means also that Shell even took 9 fuel cells stations out of the Bay Area. Actually, yeah, because nobody was interested in it. So the whole fiasco with the fuel cells for at least regular cars didn't work out. And then on top of it, if I can tell people that 1 gallon of gasoline, when you use it in your ICE car, creates 19 pounds of CO2. Well, it means a regular car during the week driving is 225 pounds. So here, booms. Every week you get 225 pounds on Earth standing here, and get it on top of it. So that's why I like to be talking about pollutions here. Then we get the drive-through. What amazed me here in the US, that everybody loves drive-through, myself too. I mean, at least sometimes the food. 11 minutes waiting, suckling your car, keep it cold, and I walk inside, and there's a little movie actually on the internet to see how long it takes to get through this In-N-Out burger, actually, what we love in California. So Paul, what do you do here? Well, I like to do my thing. I like to do about waste and pollution. So think about your plastic bottle where your soap is in. Why not hand soap? Hand soap is much easier. Little things, because do we want our kids to live in this place like this? That's, I think, not sustainable to do. So when I got the chance, 13 years ago, I started working on EV charging stations for electric cars. And now you think like, electric cars, it's only for people who want to be environmental. Maybe, but there's a lot of things to say about electric cars. And hopefully I can turn you on something like that, because, you don't need to have a full electric car. You can get a plug-in hybrid. You can just get a regular hybrid. I shouldn't get the fuel cells because that is out of business here in the US pretty much. For trucks, I see, for big trucks, big rigs, I think I see their solution. But other than that, I love to get everybody in an electric car so everybody can breathe nicely, clean air, like we had actually during COVID when everything stops and we had blue skies again. So a lot of people think like, the range is not good enough. Why the range not good enough? Nobody drives more than 60 miles a day pretty much. I mean, the average people don't drive more than 60 miles a day. Me as a contractor, I drive quickly to 200 miles and I have no problem at all. And I do this already for 10 years. I even have my fleet electric vans so that my team can even tell the consumer how to use the car and give their experience. So I always say charge at home, because that's where you have the benefits. The benefits of warming up your car while it's still plugged in, or defrost your car when it's cold weather. Warm it up nicely before you even get in. So, and otherwise you can to go. When you drive to a supercharger or at work, some employees in California, they have at work the charging stations so people can top off the car and drive home. And it can be for just a plug-in hybrid, but also for an electric car. Now, I thought this picture looked funny. It could be me 10 years ago, but luckily I don't struggle with the electrical cord so much. I think, again, it's a chicken and the egg story. If you have a charging station at home, you can just drive around every day. And there's no excuse for anybody not to challenge it, because like my father-in-law who says it's not going to work good, well, I can tell you it worked. And I will come back to that later. Because in the US, this is from last year, around 192,000 chargers were installed in the US. Of course, there are also chargers in private homes, but I can drive from San Francisco just to New York. It takes longer than a flight, of course, but it is still doable. So it's just a mindset of people, I think. And chicken of the egg story, HOAs, 50% of, in California at least, 50% of the people live in multifamily housing. And that means you need to tackle that. So we tackle that to install it in parking garages, or as here in an open area. We do that also in low-income housing, because the low-income housing is where people need to charge too. They're never going to buy a car if the charge is not there. So we get that whole chicken and the egg thing again. And by the way, could be me actually on that picture, but electric cars are fun. They are fast, they're quiet, and actually My father-in-law, who was so stubborn, even got a smile out of him when I picked him up for dinner, for the family dinner. So he even changed his mind, like, Paul, it's not so bad. No, absolutely. It is fun to drive. And don't forget, there's less maintenance on the full electric car. There is less parts, moving parts. And I always say, the only thing that it costs you is windshield wipers and tires. And for the rest, have fun with it. So please, people, work on yourself and do something about the environment. Thank you.